Chapter 11. Dad, you are listening at novelfull.audio. No need. Qin Sheng narrowed her eyes and looked at the position of the basketball. It was not high. Lin Feng instantly exploded in anger. No, he had to suppress this woman's arrogance. If he did not teach her a good lesson, where would he put his face? Begin. The referee whistled and the game officially began. The one who snatched the ball was Lin Feng. He shot a ball and scored. Brother Feng, great. Lin Feng's underlings supported Lin Feng at the right time. Lin Feng's second goal was scored again. Brother Feng, awesome. The third goal was also scored. Brother Feng, you're so domineering. Lin Feng panted and looked at Qin Sheng proudly. If you had admitted defeat earlier, you wouldn't have lost so badly. Cut the crap. Qin Sheng took the ball and dodged Lin Feng's interception. She stood outside the three-point line and exerted force with her hand. The ball was shot toward the basketball in a parabolic arc. Everyone's eyes followed the basketball. Lin Feng snorted in disdain. A three-point shot. She did not even look at herself to see if she had the ability. Unsurprisingly, Lin Feng was slapped in the face again. The basketball went straight into the basket. It went in. It went in. Lin Feng was dumbfounded. He looked at Qin Sheng. There was no joy on Qin Sheng's face, as if it was a matter of course. Lin Feng withdrew his sloppy attitude and began to treat the game seriously. However, he had no more chances. Next, as long as Qin Sheng got the ball, he did not even have a chance to touch the ball. Qin Sheng hit the ball one by one, and all of them were three-pointers. If he got the ball, Qin Sheng would snatch it away. After a basketball game, Lin Feng was exhausted and collapsed on the ground, almost unable to get up. The result was obvious. Lin Feng had lost miserably. Lin Feng took the water from one of his underlings and took a big gulp. He was unwilling to face the fact that he had been defeated by a girl. Huang Xiaoyan, Qin Sheng's deskmate, asked with starry eyes, Sheng, have you learned basketball before? No. Qin Sheng saw Huang Xiaoyan and her eyes softened. She couldn't help but reach out to pinch Huang Xiaoyan's baby-fat face. Few people knew that she liked cute things. You're still so good at playing before you learned. Huang Xiaoyan was even more impressed by Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng glanced at Lin Feng and said honestly, maybe I learned it faster. F***ck. Lin Feng spat out a mouthful of water and couldn't stop choking. She was good at fighting and playing basketball. Was she still a woman? Lin Feng slid up from the ground and blurted out, Dad. No, it's Sister Sheng. Lin Feng changed his words timidly when he received Qin Sheng's light gaze. Sister Sheng, I, Lin Feng, will recognize you as my boss from now on. Lin Feng glanced at his underlings who had followed him for 2 years. He closed his eyes and said with a pained expression, you guys will do the same in the future. Remember to call her Sister Sheng. Lin Feng's underlings obediently followed suit and called out in unison, Sister Sheng. Qin Sheng took the water that Huang Xiaoyan had brought for her and paused. I won't snatch your boss position. I'm not interested. Lin Feng was delighted. Sister Sheng, from now on, if you want me to go east, I won't go west. If there's anything, just let me know. After Lin Feng finished speaking, he kept on saying flattering words. Qin Sheng frowned impatiently and left. Lin Feng kept blowing at Qin Sheng. He didn't even know when she left. At night, when Qin Sheng returned to the Qin family, Qin Hai sat on the sofa in the living room with a cold face. He said in a deep voice, let me ask you, why don't you go to class 1? Also, as a girl, do you think it's proper for you to fight with others? Chapter 12. Provocation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My grades are not good enough for class 1. I can't change my grades from fighting, Qin Sheng said coldly. Qin Hai's face was livid with anger. Qin Sheng tilted her head and thought for a moment. Then, she laughed lightly with a mocking look in her eyes. Don't worry. Other than the few people in the school who you told, no one will know that I'm your daughter, Qin Hai, and I won't embarrass you. As for whether I'm outstanding or not, you won't care, right? She wouldn't tell anyone that she was Qin Hai's daughter. She wouldn't care about this identity anymore, let alone reveal it to others. This blood that was related to them by blood, she wished that she could shed it. Qin Hai was hit in the heart and became even angrier. Qin Sheng, you're my daughter. How can you say that about your own father? Do you treat me as your daughter? Qin Sheng glanced at Qin Hai and sneered. I'm afraid that your daughter is only Qin Churu. After saying that, she ignored Qin Hai and went straight upstairs. Her back was straight and her figure was thin. Walking alone on the stairs, she looked frail and helpless. Unfortunately, Qin Hai didn't take any of this to heart. He was so angry that he slammed the table. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have brought her back. Lin Shuya glanced at Qin Hai from the corner of her eyes and said unhappily, I told you that Roer would be our only daughter. You were the one who insisted on bringing her back. Didn't I do this for the sake of our Qin family? Qin Sheng is a good-looking girl. If we can find a suitable match for her to marry, she will be able to help our Qin family a lot. Qin Hai's words fell into the ears of Qin Sheng, who was about to open the door on the second floor. The corners of her lips curled up into a mocking smile. She had never understood that Qin Hai and Lin Shuya did not like her and still wanted to bring her back. So this was the reason. They treated their only biological daughter as a tool to exchange for benefits, while Qin Churu, the adopted daughter, was spoiled to the heavens by them. How ridiculous was that? Qin Sheng was no longer interested in their next conversation. She directly opened the door and walked in. The thick layer of the door isolated her from the outside. Qin Sheng took a shower and sat cross-legged on the bed with the computer in her hand. She put the computer on her lap and turned it on. She logged into the Black Emperor and found that her post had sunk long ago. No one responded. Qin Sheng frowned slightly in confusion. Was her way of posting the post too gentle? She tilted her head and pondered for a while. The corners of her lips curled up slightly with a hint of arrogance. Her fair and beautiful fingertips flew over the keyboard and typed an extremely arrogant sentence. QS. I looked at your results and concluded with a few words. Bad. No standards at all. I really don't know how you guys became hacker experts. It seems that the famous Black Emperor is just so. Qin Sheng even deliberately at the top few hackers among the Black Emperor, provoking them. If you have the guts, then compete with me. Unless you're a coward, worried that you can't compete with a newcomer. After Qin Sheng posted a new post, she turned off her computer. She basically couldn't remember the knowledge from high school now. She needed to study hard. She took out her Chinese textbook. As long as she went through it once, the knowledge she had learned in her previous life would reappear in her mind, and she would be able to apply the knowledge from one example to another. Qin Sheng was a genius. However, she had been living in a persecuted environment since she was young. She could only carefully hide her edge. She had just finished junior high school when Shen Mei stopped her from going to school. Chapter 13. Liang Hua defeated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Sheng could only work and study at the same time. She also gave a portion of the money she earned from her work to Shen Mei. She did not want her to see her excellence, so she was able to finish her second year of high school in the town. Qin Sheng flipped through the textbook very seriously and quickly. In less than 2 hours, she finished flipping through one textbook and took out another Chinese textbook for the first and second semester of high school. Downstairs, the family of 3 was performing a scene of deep love. Qin Hai and Lin Shuya had a fight over Qin Sheng. The two of them sat on one side of the sofa, sulking. Qin Churu came out to help. Dad, Mom, thank you for liking me so much. Even after knowing that I'm not your biological daughter, you still treat me like your biological daughter. As she said this, her eyes turned red and she cried. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, sister wouldn't have misunderstood you. If I moved out, the three of you wouldn't be so noisy. How could Lin Shuya see her daughter, who had been doted on since young, crying like this? Her heart immediately ached. She hugged Qin Churu's shoulder. She comforted her with heartache. Rower, you'll always be Mom and Dad's daughter. Our biological daughter. You don't have to move out. You're not an outsider. But, sister, your sister is not sensible. Don't bother about her. At the mention of Qin Sheng, Lin Shuya felt stifled in her heart. She did not understand why her daughter was not as good as Rower. Mom, sister will definitely understand how good you are to her. Upon hearing this, Lin Shuya's heart melted. It was better to raise a daughter by her side since she was young. Look, how thoughtful and sensible was she. Qin Hai looked at her and his eyes unconsciously softened. Rower, don't worry. The Qin family will always be your home. Qin Churu was thoughtful, intelligent, and had good grades. No matter which aspect, Qin Sheng could not be compared to her. At least, in Qin Hai's heart, she was like this. Qin Churu, who was being held in Lin Shuya's arms, lowered her eyebrows and her eyes were full of pride. Qin Sheng, you can't take it back. Even if you were brought back, you would still be something that your parents didn't want. She was the only young miss of the Qin family. Qin Churu seemed to be able to imagine how Qin Sheng would look like in the future. There was an indescribable joy in her heart. The next day, there was an English class. The English teacher was Liang Hua. Because of yesterday's incident, she didn't like Qin Sheng very much. She wanted to make things difficult for her in class and embarrass her. Girls cared about their face the most. She asked Qin Sheng to get up and answer a few questions. The questions she asked were also ones that she had spent a lot of effort to find out. Even if she did not look at the answers, it was difficult to guarantee that she could answer all of them. Liang Hua even thought of the words to humiliate Qin Sheng, but she was choked to death by Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng actually answered all of them, and there was not a single wrong answer. In the end, Qin Sheng also asked her a question. Liang Hua thought for a long time but still could not answer it. She had lost all her face. She didn't expect that the one who lost her face wasn't Qin Sheng, but herself. When the bell rang, Liang Hua heaved a sigh of relief and walked out of class 4 with her courseware. Ha ha ha. As soon as she walked out of the classroom, a burst of laughter came from class 4. There was also the sound of people slapping the table. Liang Hua's face alternated between green and white. She didn't dare to go back and question them. She could only swallow the anger she had suffered in class 4. In the classroom, Qin Sheng was surrounded by a circle. They were all extremely impressed by Qin Sheng. Liang Hua had always looked down on this group of poor students in class 4. In class, she would always mock them. They had long disliked her. Their grades were not good, but they still had their dignity. Moreover, it was not that they did not want to study. It was just that their foundations were poor. They could not keep up with the pace in grade 3, so they were tired of studying. Chapter 14. Qin Sheng's results. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Huang Xiaoyan's eyes were filled with admiration as she said, Sheng, you're so amazing. This is the first time I've seen Liang Hua suffer. Yes, Sister Sheng, this is so King satisfying. Lin Feng's admiration for Qin Sheng was like a torrential river, surging endlessly. Sister Sheng, you're too awesome. I'm clapping my hands in admiration. Waves of rainbow-colored farts started to blow again. Qin Sheng lazily leaned back on the chair and wore a loose school uniform on her body. Qin Sheng was very thin, and the school uniform made her look especially weak. It was this kind of girl who hid a huge amount of strength. After they finally quieted down, Qin Sheng gently knocked on the table and lazily glanced at them. "Are you guys going to take revenge on Liang Hua?" "Of course." Lin Feng nodded repeatedly and leaned over again. He asked expectantly, "Sister Sheng, do you have any good ideas?" Everyone looked at Qin Sheng expectantly. "Improve your results." Qin Sheng's tone was very indifferent. Lin Feng was suddenly absent-minded and lost his energy. He sat back in his seat. "Forget about my results. If you want me to study, I might as well commit suicide." The rest of class 4 also returned to their seats. Obviously, they had rejected Qin Sheng's request. They could not compare to Class 1. Class 1 studies were for Imperial Capital University, but they could not even take the second textbook. The bell rang for class. This was a self-study class. Qin Sheng took out a chemistry book and read it seriously. She could flip through Chinese very quickly, but for the contents of the science subjects like chemistry and physics, she needed to solve the questions over and over again before she could master them. She read very seriously, and the classroom was also very quiet. There was only the sound of flipping and writing. Huang Xiaoyan took out a bag of potato chips and was about to stuff it into her mouth. Seeing that Qin Sheng was studying seriously, she inexplicably felt that the delicious potato chips were no longer as delicious. She silently stuffed it into the desk and took out a book. Perhaps it was because of Qin Sheng's seriousness, or perhaps it was because they took her words to heart. The other students in class 4 also took out their textbooks. Biting the pen, they seriously browsed through the knowledge in the textbooks. The classroom was eerily quiet. Lin Feng, who was sleeping on the table, raised his head, rubbed his eyes, and scanned the classroom. He saw that everyone, except for him, was reading or writing. Lin Feng. He had only slept for a while. What happened? They were all studying. Lin Feng wanted to speak, but he opened his mouth, but was too embarrassed to break the silence. Touching the back of his head, Lin Feng placed his hand on the textbook. Even the teacher in charge, Teacher Lin, who had come to inspect the class, was shocked. Had this group of little brats changed their minds? Her gaze then fell on Qin Sheng, and a flash of understanding appeared in her eyes. She adjusted her glasses. It seemed that she had gotten a good seedling. At that time, she had asked Qin Sheng to join her class because she had taken a liking to her clean temperament. This student was obviously a good person. Her grades might not be good, but a good person was enough. As expected, she was not surprised. Qin Sheng had only been in the class for 2 days, but the class had changed so much. Teacher Lin was thinking, when Liang Hua and the others found out that Qin Sheng's grades were good, would they be so angry that they would vomit blood? If Qin Sheng's other subjects were as good as mathematics, her grades might not even be as good as Su Yi's. After the English class, it was time for school to end. In a car at the school gate, Fu Hanchuan was sitting in the back seat. He flipped through the document in his hand and saw Qin Sheng's information. Qin Sheng. Chapter 15. Old Master Lu, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Fu Hanchuan called out in a low voice. His voice was deep and his gaze fell on Qin Sheng's photo. There seemed to be light in his eyes. His girl was not just an illusion in his dream. She was real. Fu Hanchuan had a secret that no one knew. When he was very young, he had fallen in love with the girl who often appeared in his dreams, even though that dream was not beautiful. One by one, students wearing school uniforms came out of the school one after another. Fu Hanchuan got out of the car, and the first thing he saw was the thin figure in the crowd. Fu Hanchuan was a little nervous. He lowered his head and looked at the clothes on his body. There was nothing wrong with it, so he walked over and stopped Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng was 1.6 meters tall. In his previous life, she was 1.68 meters tall. She was not fully grown yet, only reaching Fu Hanchuan's shoulders. Fu Hanchuan lowered his eyebrows and looked at the girl. He called out the name he had practiced countless times in the car. In a gentle and mellow voice, he said, "Sheng Sheng." Qin Sheng was stunned. She looked up and saw Fu Hanchuan. Her pupils constricted slightly. She subconsciously made the same action as in her previous life and took a step back. Fu Hanchuan's eyes darkened for a moment, but he soon felt relieved. Qin Sheng could be said to be the girl he had known for many years, but to Qin Sheng, he was just a stranger. "Lu Zhonghua, my grandfather." Fu Hanchuan took out a photo of old Master Lu. "Grandpa Lu." Qin Sheng's eyes trembled slightly. She saw Grandpa Lu again, even though it was only the photo of him. "Sheng Sheng, my grandfather wants to see you. He said he wants to repay you for saving his life. So, can you come home with me and meet him?" Fu Hanchuan looked at Qin Sheng and sent her an invitation. Qin Sheng's long eyelashes fluttered and she nodded. Of course, she was willing to go. From the moment she was reborn, she had dreamed of meeting Grandpa Gu and Brother Fu, but she didn't dare to. In her previous life, they had repeatedly reminded her that Qin Churu wasn't a good person, but she thought that they were biased against Qin Churu and estranged them because of Qin Churu's instigation. She was the kind of person who treated kindness like a donkey's liver and lungs. Fu Hanchuan pinched his fingers, wanting to rub Qin Sheng's fluffy hair. He took a deep breath and made up his mind to raise his hand. However, Qin Sheng got into the car. Fu Hanchuan smiled helplessly and sat in the back seat of the car. Beside him was Qin Sheng, the girl he had liked for many years. Fu Hanchuan had rarely been nervous since he was young, so he became nervous again. Qin Sheng's sweet scent entered Fu Hanchuan's nose, and there was also a faint smell of milk. Fu Hanchuan moved closer to Qin Sheng without moving. Qin Sheng was not a talkative person, and Fu Hanchuan was also a dull person. He rarely talked and would not create a topic. Fu Hanchuan wanted to talk to Qin Sheng, but he did not know what to say. The two of them went back to the Lu family home quietly. When old Master Lu heard that Qin Sheng was coming, he was overjoyed. He had been waiting in front of the villa for a long time. After waiting for an hour, Qin Sheng finally came. "Sheng Sheng." Seeing Qin Sheng, old Master Lu took Qin Sheng's hand in a familiar manner and walked toward the villa, forgetting about his grandson. Fu Hanchuan walked behind leisurely. When he saw old Master Lu's hand on Qin Sheng's white wrist, he felt a trace of jealousy in his heart. "Sheng Sheng, ever since I came back, I've been thinking about you. I've missed you so much." As he spoke, he glared at Fu Hanchuan. "It's all because of this brat. He's been keeping me in the hospital. When I got home, he didn't let me go out either. I asked him to look for you. It took him so many days to find you." Chapter 16. Make a couple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Sheng had a smile in her eyes. It felt good to be able to hear Grandpa Lu's nagging in her ear. Grandpa Lu glanced at Fu Hanchuan and asked with a smile, "Sheng Sheng, how old are you?" Fu Hanchuan was listening attentively. "I'll be 18 in 2 months, Qin Sheng answered obediently. 18, Grandpa Lu smiled even more happily. His grandson was just 5 years older than her. 5 years was the most appropriate age gap. Master Lu's little calculations were ringing in his mind. It was not easy for him to meet a girl that he liked so much. Even in his dreams, he wanted to woo her back home. If he could pair her with his grandson, he would not let the boy off easily. Master Lu finally thought of Fu Hanchuan. He did not want to monopolize Qin Sheng anymore. He kindly introduced Fu Hanchuan. Sheng, he's my grandson. He's 23 years old this year, and his grades are good. At 21 years old, he received a doctorate degree from Capital University. Now, he even started a company. He's never been in a relationship, never been on a blind date, and never had a girl he liked. After saying that, he went against his conscience, and said, my grandson has countless good points. He's good. Looking, good at cooking, gentle, and considerate. I'm sure he'll be very doting to be his wife. Old Master Lu almost said that he wanted Qin Sheng and Fu Hanchuan to be together. Qin Sheng nodded in agreement. In her heart, Fu Hanchuan indeed had no flaws. Qin Sheng also had a negative EQ and knew nothing about relationships. Even in her previous life, Fu Hanchuan clearly showed that he liked her, but she didn't notice it at all. Naturally, she didn't know what Old Master Lu was hiding. When Old Master Lu mentioned Fu Hanchuan also sat up straight. On the surface, he was still very cold, but in fact, his palms were sweating. After introducing Fu Hanchuan, Old Master Lu said, Sheng, if you have been wronged in H City, feel free to look for Grandpa Lu. Grandpa Lu can still speak to you in H City. After a pause, he said somewhat reluctantly, you can also look for Hanchuan. Old Master Lu had read Qin Sheng's information and knew about her background. Her parents were also confused. They doted on an outsider who was not related by blood and wronged their own daughter. He felt sorry for Qin Sheng from the bottom of his heart. Thank you, Grandpa. Qin Sheng smiled. Her clear eyes were full of gratitude to Old Master Lu. It's not polite to say thank you. Old Master Lu pretended to be unhappy and continued to chat with Qin Sheng. After chatting for more than an hour, Fu Hanchuan could not get a word in. He raised his hand and looked at his watch countless times. In the end, he could not help but ask, Grandpa, aren't you hungry? Old Master Lu waved his hand and did not even turn his head. Go and eat. Don't worry about me. Fu Hanchuan was expressionless. Sheng probably hasn't eaten for an entire afternoon. Old Master Lu patted his head. Look at Grandpa Lu. He's forgotten that Sheng is starving. After saying that, he didn't even look at Fu Hanchuan as he pulled Qin Sheng to the dining table. Fu Hanchuan. He could only sit at one side of the dining table with incomparable resentment. Sitting across from him was Qin Sheng. The Lu family was a scholarly family. They didn't have the habit of talking at the dining table. Old Master Lu finally stopped himself from talking non-stop. Qin Sheng ate very little. She stopped eating after less than half a bowl of rice. Fu Hanchuan looked at Qin Sheng's skinny body and frowned. She was too skinny. She was so skinny and small. He always felt that if he used a little strength, her wrist would break with a pinch. He had to give her more nourishment in the future. Chapter 17. Dote on Qin Sheng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Old Master Lu noticed Fu Hanchuan's gaze and ate a mouthful of braised pork with soy sauce in satisfaction. Sheng was still the most charming one. Even his cold and indifferent grandson was attracted to her. After the meal, it was summer and the sky had already darkened. Qin Sheng was going back to the Qin family. Old Master Lu was reluctant to part with her. He held Qin Sheng's hand pitifully and kept reminding her, Sheng, you must come and see this old man more often. It's too lonely living alone. No one comes to accompany me. Fu Hanchuan. What about him? Wasn't he human? Grandpa Lu, I will. Qin Sheng looked at Fu Hanchuan with a hint of a smile in her eyes. Fu Hanchuan pressed the space between his eyebrows and said with a headache, Grandpa, it's late. I'll send Sheng back first. Old Master Lu let go of Qin Sheng. He watched the car leave from afar and sighed. He kept muttering, sigh, my grandson has a daughter. In law and despises me as his grandfather. It's not up to me when my grandson is older. His mouth was full of dissatisfaction towards Fu Hanchuan, but his eyes were full of smiles. Fu Hanchuan sent Qin Sheng to the entrance of the Qin family. The two of them made their move. Qin Sheng was about to leave when Fu Hanchuan stopped her. Sheng, do you have a phone? Qin Sheng tilted her head in confusion and took out her phone. Fu Hanchuan took the phone and gently tapped on the screen with his slender and good-looking fingers. The light from the phone shone on Fu Hanchuan's handsome face as if it was coated with a layer of light. It made him look even colder and even more handsome. Qin Sheng was also stunned when she saw it. She could not help but sigh. No wonder Qin Churu was so infatuated with Fu Hanchuan in her previous life. Fu Hanchuan noticed Qin Sheng's gaze. The corners of his lips curled up slightly and he slowed down his movements. After saving his information, Fu Hanchuan returned his phone to her. There were no contacts on Qin Sheng's phone yet. She could see at a glance that the first number on her contact list was Fu Hanchuan's. He had named himself Brother Fu. Call me if there's anything. Fu Hanchuan was done. He paused and added, I'll always be here. Brother Fu, thank you. Qin Sheng felt a surge of warmth in her heart. She gripped her phone tightly, her heart burning. Fu Hanchuan's lips curled up slightly. He was very tall. Standing in front of Qin Sheng, he could only see the top of her hair. Fu Hanchuan could still imagine her faint smile, and his eyes softened. He raised his hand to rub Qin Sheng's hair. The weather is cold tonight. Go in first. Goodbye, then. Qin Sheng walked towards the door. Qin Sheng came to the door and pressed the doorbell. She stood at the door and waited for 10 minutes, but no one came to open the door. Fu Hanchuan frowned. He walked over and just took a few steps. He saw the door open. The one who opened the door was a middle-aged maid. When she saw Qin Sheng, she said in a strange tone, Miss is back. Mr. and Madam have been waiting for you. Qin Sheng didn't say a word and walked in. Fu Hanchuan could hear the conversation coming from the villa, and his eyes narrowed unkindly. Thinking of the information he had found, he spat out, Qin Hai, Lin Shia. It seemed that he could give the Qin family some trouble. Fu Hanchuan felt even more sorry for Qin Sheng. She was only 17 years old, but she had already experienced the hardships that adults had never experienced. Since she was young, she didn't have the love of her parents. Even her living expenses and tuition fees were earned by herself. A 17-year-old girl should have grown up under the protection of her family. Fu Hanchuan leaned against the side of the car with one hand in his pocket. He looked at the villa with determination in his eyes. He would be the one to dote on Qin Sheng. He could protect her like a little princess. Chapter 18. Challenge. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Sheng entered the villa. When the three people in the living room saw her, they immediately quieted down. You're back, Qin Hai said indifferently. Lin Shia turned her head and didn't even look at Qin Sheng. Her dislike for her was obvious. Qin Churu also reacted. Her face was full of surprise. Sister, it's so late. Why did you come back now? Where did you go? I was so worried. You just came to H City and are unfamiliar with the place. I was so afraid that you would get lost. Qin Sheng stopped in her tracks. She sneered, her eyes filled with endless mockery. If I got lost, who caused it? Qin Sheng's eyes were very clear, but Qin Churu could not see clearly what was hidden in her eyes. All the dark thoughts in her heart seemed to have been seen by Qin Sheng. Qin Churu pinched the hem of her clothes. She was worried that Qin Sheng would say something, so she decided to strike first. Sister, I thought something happened to you. I didn't find you. I wanted to tell Mom and Dad, so I let the car come back first. Qin Sheng's gaze was very mocking. Chin Churu was like this. She was used to pushing all the blame onto her. She was always soft and weak, winning the sympathy of others. Chin Churu's words were just a lie to Chin Hai and Lin Shuya. In her previous life, the Chin family's private car had always only picked up Chin Churu. She could only walk or take the subway bus back. Chin Shing did not expose Chin Churu's lie. She averted her gaze and walked upstairs. She did not want to spend a single moment with these hypocritical people. Shenger, Dad has been very busy recently. We won't be holding the banquet to announce you. It's good that Dad and Mom know that you are our daughter. You are also a sensible child. You shouldn't care about these superficial things, Chin Hai suddenly said. His words were dignified, but he didn't want to waste time on her. He was even more worried that others would know that Chin Sheng was their daughter. Whatever, Chin Sheng replied indifferently and went upstairs. Her eyes were a little red. Although she had told herself over and over that she shouldn't care about these so-called family ties, she couldn't help but feel sour. A biological daughter was far inferior to an outsider. She was also the daughter of a person who had deliberately swapped their biological flesh and blood, causing them to be separated for more than 10 years. No matter how much she tried to please them, she would never have a daughter like Chin Churu in their eyes. She, Chin Sheng, was a dispensable existence in the Chin family. Chin Sheng sat in front of the table and adjusted her emotions. She turned on the computer and logged into Black Emperor. Her previous provocation had been effective. Her posts had already been blocked for dozens of floors. Everyone was mocking her for overestimating herself. There were not many, but it was enough. The moment Chin Sheng's ID appeared, some hackers noticed it and issued a challenge to her. One by one, the challenge posts popped up. Hacker001 issued a challenge to QS. 1000.Faced Man issued a challenge to QS. I'm Little Blackie issued a challenge to QS. Chin Sheng narrowed her eyes and casually clicked agree. The target of their attack this time was a virtual system. They needed to break through 3 lines of defense. This time, the other party did not put Chin Sheng in their eyes, so they chose a simple target to end it as soon as possible. They did not want to waste too much time on an arrogant person. Chin Sheng typed on the keyboard very slowly, and her expression was very relaxed. A small window appeared on her computer. It was the page on the opponent's computer. Chapter 19. A complete victory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, many hackers were watching their competition, wanting to see how this QS was defeated. This kid is too arrogant. Do they really think that there's no one in our hacker world? It's been so many years, but this is the first time I've seen such a stupid person. They actually dared to provoke an expert of our hacker world. There's no need for an expert to make a move. Any random person can defeat him completely. This kid is a rookie who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Look at his progress bar. Right now, not a single line of defense has been broken. This is truly an eye-opener for me. This stinky kid is going to lose for sure. While the discussion was in full swing, Chin Sheng sat in front of the computer. Seeing that the other party was still attacking the second line of defense, Chin Sheng lost her patience as well. Her fingertips flew over the computer and directly hacked the other party's computer. I'm Little Blackie, the hacker, thought that he had won. Just as he was feeling smug, he suddenly saw the computer's page shake a few times. He was stunned for a moment before he suddenly reacted. He typed furiously on the computer keyboard, and fine beads of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. A few seconds later, the computer. Black. Black screen. Black screen. F***CK. I'm Little Blackie smashed the mouse onto the table. He stared at the computer with a face full of disbelief. He had actually been hacked without even knowing it. He had even been hacked. This was the greatest shame of the hacker world. I'm Little Blackie was doubting his life, and the others were also confused. Why had he suddenly gone offline? After a second of silence, everyone started discussing again. However, this time, the topic of discussion wasn't QS, but I'm Little Blackie, the hacker. What's going on? Why did he suddenly go offline? Is his computer broken? Who knows? He probably got seduced by a woman. You know what's going to happen next. Based on the past, I'm Little Blackie is not someone who would leave midway. Quick, look at QS, someone shouted, and the hackers all looked at Qin Sheng's progress bar. Then, they saw QS, which had no progress at all. Broke through the first line of defense. 1 minute later, broke through the second line of defense. 2 minutes later, broke through the third line of defense. Broke through the system. The hackers stared blankly and forgot to react until the system notification, QS beats I'm Little Blackie. Lost. They finally reacted, and their expressions were complicated. Not only did QS win, they even broke through the first, second, and third lines of defense in just over 2 minutes. It seemed that even the highest record of the Black Emperor was not this fast. Instantly, they felt that their faces hurt. Some hackers posted to comfort them, QS just has good luck. The hackers who did not want to believe that QS had such strength echoed in the post. In the blink of an eye, they had scoured hundreds of floors, and there was no lack of hackers who came in to eat the melon. The stronger hackers once again issued a challenge to Qin Sheng. After this gamble, a small number of hackers chose to bet on QS to win, but the majority still bet on her to lose. Qin Sheng supported her chin with one hand. She was not in a hurry to accept the challenge, and her gaze was fixed on the bet. She did not know if she could place a bet. Thinking of the previous competition, all the hackers had bet on her to lose. If she also placed a bet, the odds might be over 100. Qin Sheng instantly felt her heart ache. Without hesitation, she bet all the money she had on her. There were 300,000, of which 200,000 were given to her by Qin Hai, and more than 100,000 were saved by herself. Qin Sheng had not come into contact with hackers for a long time. During the first match, she was a little rusty. This time, she was already in the zone. Hence, this scene appeared. Chapter 20. The most handsome in the universe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. QS defeats challenger. QS accepts defeat. 2 minutes later. BVEC, QS defeats defeat. 4 minutes later. QS defeats Big Blackie. 5 minutes later. QS defeats Chicken. System announcements of QS's defeats popped up one after another, and in the end, one would appear less than a minute later. All the hackers were dumbfounded, and their jaws dropped to the ground. Was this world magical? Was it so easy to complete a challenge? Suddenly, a big red line appeared on the computer. QS took 40 seconds to conquer DY system, breaking the record of 50 seconds. All the hackers. They thought that it was just bronze, but it turned out to be a king. Thinking of their doubts about QS, they silently deleted the comments that slandered QS in the post. Today, they had been slapped in the face one after another, and it had never felt so good. After the record-breaking announcement came out, no one dared to challenge QS anymore. They did not want to go up and look for abuse, as the disparity in strength was too great. After watching Qin Sheng and the other hackers fight for so long, they had also seen clearly the strength of QS, so they naturally hid far away. They were not masochists either. There was still a portion of people who were unwilling to accept this. QS was too arrogant, and they could not take this lying down. They were not comparable to QS, but there was still someone who could defeat him. Therefore, many hackers went to leave messages for the top 10 hackers, asking them to come out and teach QS a lesson. F***CK. In a villa room, a youth who had watched the entire competition burst out with a curse. He had actually broken his record. His record had only been held for a month, and before he could warm up, it had been broken by a newcomer. Lu Ming was a person who loved to watch the show. He had been watching the match between QS and the other hackers the whole time, and was watching the show. He had not expected that this fire would actually burn him. Lu Ming's face was completely dark. It seemed that he needed to teach this arrogant person a lesson. He needed to know what he could and could not touch. Lu Ming opened his private message and there were already dozens of messages on it. Lu Ming loved to show off and show off. The hackers knew his personality very well. They were just trying to show off Lu Ming's face. Handsome, someone has set fire to your door. Why aren't you taking action? Handsome, prove your strength. Don't say that you don't dare to compete with QS. Handsome, your record isn't good. It's twice as fast as yours. When Lu Ming saw it, he was even angrier. He wanted to grab QS from the internet and beat them up. He typed on the keyboard. Don't worry, I'll make that son of a bitch kneel down and call me daddy. His tone was extremely arrogant. Lu Ming could already imagine the scene of QS losing and crying for his parents. QS was very powerful, but he was still a little weaker than him. The most handsome in the universe agreed to the challenge. The hackers were happy. After a few face slaps, some people did not dare to post to support the most handsome in the universe winning, but from the bottom of their hearts, they still favored the most handsome in the universe. Another bet. Lu Ming had already issued a challenge to Qin Sheng. In the previous match, Qin Sheng won and received 10 times the odds. She had already received more than 3 million and deposited it into her account. Qin Sheng narrowed her eyes and moved away from the amount in her account. Her gaze fell on the interface where Lu Ming challenged her. The most handsome in the universe, ranked 8th. The corner of Qin Sheng's lips curled up slightly. She had encountered this hacker in her previous life. She did not immediately agree to the challenge. Instead, she clicked the mouse with her fingertips and placed a bet. Only a small number of people bet on QS to win, so the odds this time were quite high. Qin Sheng looked at the balance in her account and bet all 3 million yuan.